Welcome, confidential listeners, to another entry from our private archives. This is a space for the unspoken, for the deep dramatic secrets that carry a heavy emotional weight. Tonight's story was sent to me by a woman named Elena, a survivor who found that the past is a shadow that never truly stops chasing you. It is a diary of redemption and sacrifice, titled The Ghost of Hackney Road. So, close the door, turn down the lights, and listen closely, because the audience for this truth is only you. Can a man change a woman's destiny? I used to think my fate was written in the mud of the Cornish moors long before I ever saw the lights of London. I come from a family where hunger was the only thing we had in abundance. I remember the cold Atlantic wind howling through the cracks in our cottage walls, the sound of 6 hungry mouths crying for bread that my father simply didn't have. I don't offer it as an excuse, but the desperation of a starving stomach makes you do things that the soul never forgets. To save my siblings, to keep us all from fading away, I took a job at a truck stop pub near the A30 highway. It was a dark, damp place where the smell of stale ale and diesel smoke clung to everything, including my skin. It was the blackest period of my life, a time I would erase from my memory with acid if I could. I spent 3 years in that place, selling pieces of myself to men who didn't even know my real name. Among them was Arthur. He was a regular driver, a man who claimed me as his own every time his truck pulled into the lot. He would signal for me from across the room with a crooked, possessive smile, a look that told every other man in the bar that I was his property. He was obsessed with me. Even if I was with someone else, he would find a way to drive them away. I felt like I was living in a form of modern slavery, leaving almost every pound I earned in the hands of the pub owners. So one rainy night, I simply walked toward the road and didn't look back, hitchhiking my way to London, hoping the city's fog would hide me forever. London was a monster of its own, but at least it was a monster where I could be anonymous. I spent my first few months sleeping in shelters near Shoreditch, the smell of damp wool and old stone becoming my constant companions. It took me nearly 5 years to scrub the Cornwall grime off my soul and build something I could be proud of. I found a job cleaning a small bakery in Hackney, waking up at 4 in the morning when the city was still dreaming and the streets were paved with silver frost. Every pound I saved felt like a victory over the girl I used to be. I finally had a tiny studio apartment and a life that didn't feel like a crime. It was during this time, while the golden afternoon sun was filtering through the flour-dusted windows of the bakery, that I met Thomas. He was the delivery man, always arriving with a smile that felt like a warm hearth in the middle of a London winter. He became the great love of my life, the father of my children, the man who made me believe I deserved to exist. He would take me for walks along the Regent's Canal, talking about a future I never thought I'd see, his hand always resting gently on the small of my back. We had been together for almost 7 years when he came home one evening, his eyes bright with a joy I'll never forget. "Elena, you won't believe it! Our application was finally approved. We're getting the flat, Elena, a place of our own in Hackney Road. No more landlords, no more cramped studios. It's our home, love, our very own castle." I remember sinking into our worn sofa, the tears stinging my eyes as the weight of our struggle finally began to lift. It was our dream, our little corner of the world. He looked like a young boy, pacing the room and planning where every piece of furniture would go. I was happy. I was truly, deeply happy. But somewhere in the back of my mind, a cold whisper told me that ghosts don't like to stay buried. We moved in a few months later, the scent of fresh paint and new beginnings filling the rooms. We were living our life, raising our children, until one afternoon, 5 months into our new life, the past decided to knock on my door in the most terrifying way. I was walking back from the market, the heavy bags of groceries cutting into my palms as the London drizzle began to turn the pavement into a dark, oil-slicked mirror. I was just passing the pub on the corner when I heard it, a voice that felt like a cold blade against my throat. I don't believe it. Elena? Is that really you, girl? What on earth are you doing in London, you little runaway? My heart stopped, and the world seemed to tilt on its axis. Despite the years that had passed since I fled the Cornwall moors, I recognized that gravelly, nicotine-stained voice instantly. It was Arthur, the same man who wouldn't give me a moment's peace in that truck stop den. I felt the blood drain from my face, my skin turning as cold as the damp air around us. Before I could move, I felt his heavy, grease-stained hand grip my arm, pulling me back. The smell of stale beer and diesel fuel hit me like a physical blow. "Please, let me go. You have the wrong person. I'm a married woman. I don't know you." "Don't know me? How could you forget me, Elena? It's Arthur. Don't tell me you've forgotten all those nights back at Dolores's place. You ran off like a thief in the night, but look at you now, acting like a proper lady." I could feel the eyes of the people on the street turning toward us, their curious, judgmental gazes burning through me. By some cruel twist of fate, Arthur was working for a logistics firm in the South, and he was living right there in the same neighborhood where we had just built our sanctuary. The city I thought was so big suddenly felt as small as a coffin. I began to avoid leaving the house, paralyzed by the thought that Thomas might find out about the life I led. I would sit behind my curtains, watching the red double-decker buses pass by, terrified that every engine I heard was his truck pulling up to my door. I loved Thomas so much that the thought of losing him felt like dying. But how do you tell the man you love that you once belonged to the shadows? The past wasn't just a memory anymore. It was a predator pacing outside my front door. The tragedy of my luck was that he wasn't just passing through, he was staying. Arthur had found our address, and soon his presence became a permanent stain on Hackney Road. Whenever Thomas was away at work, I would see him, a dark silhouette leaning against the street lamp, watching my windows with those predatory, patient eyes. Sometimes I'd hear the heavy, low rumble of his truck engine as he drove past our flat, intentionally slowing down just enough to let me know he was there. I felt shivers down my spine every time a shadow crossed my door, unable to lead a normal life in the very home we had fought so hard to get. I was terrified that he would simply knock one day, find Thomas, and spill every dark detail of the life I had left behind in the moors. It wasn't a lack of trust in Thomas, but how do you tell your husband that you once worked in a place like that? How do you explain that you were a different person in another life? I was certain he would never forgive me, and losing Thomas meant losing my very soul. The knocking finally came. I stood frozen in the hallway, the sound of the wood vibrating under his fist feeling like a hammer against my heart. When I finally opened it, there he was, filling the doorway with his stench and his malice. "Still acting like the Virgin Mary, are you, Elena? Open the door, girl. I've been missing you. How much for just one more night, just like the old times?" He wouldn't stop. He started spending his days on the corner, eyes fixed on my movements like a hawk. Whenever Thomas left for the bakery, I'd fall into a panic, locking every window, drawing every curtain to make the flat look empty. But he knew. He knew I was in there, trembling in the shadows, and he enjoyed the power he had over my silence. My life had become a daily martyrdom, a prison of glass that was about to shatter. Thomas eventually noticed the change in me. How could he not? I was a shadow of the woman he loved, jumping at the sound of every passing siren, my eyes constantly darting toward the door as if a ghost were about to walk through it. One evening, I couldn't take the silence anymore. I didn't tell him about Arthur. I didn't tell him about the truck stop in Cornwall, but I told him I wasn't happy. I lied to the man who gave me everything, inventing stories of shadows in the hallway and a lack of safety in Hackney Road. I watched his face fall, his excitement for our new flat turning into a mask of confusion and hurt. Thomas, please, we can't stay here. I've seen people watching the house. I don't feel safe. I can't sleep. We have to find another place. Please, just for me, let's leave this neighborhood. He looked around at the walls we had just painted, at the furniture we had spent years dreaming about. He didn't understand why I wanted to run. We had fought so hard to escape the rent cycle, to finally have something that belonged to us. But, Elena, this is our home. We worked so hard for this, love. Why now? What has changed? I couldn't tell him the truth. I couldn't tell him that a piece of my past was standing on the corner of Hackney Road, waiting to tear our world apart. I felt like a criminal, hiding the very thing that was killing me from the person who was supposed to be my partner. I thought I could bury the past forever, but Arthur had dug it up, and now it was a rot spreading through the foundation of my marriage. I was begging to be a nomad again, just to avoid the eyes of a man who knew who I used to be. I thought I could control it. I thought I could keep the two worlds from colliding by sheer force of will. But the past is like water. It finds every crack, every weakness. Arthur was no longer just watching from the street. He was testing the boundaries of my sanctuary. I would hear the letterbox rattle at odd hours of the night, not the sound of mail, but the heavy breathing of a man who knew I was awake on the other side of the wood. He began to shout my name from the pavement, his voice echoing off the brick walls of Hackney Road, loud enough for the neighbors to stop and whisper. Every time I heard Elena in that mocking, gravelly tone, I felt a piece of my new life crumble away. I was certain that at any moment a neighbor would ask Thomas who that man was, or worse, that Thomas would be the one to answer the door. I felt like a cornered animal in my own home, the very place that was supposed to be my reward for surviving the moors. The beautiful curtains we chose together became my shroud. I lived in a perpetual twilight, afraid to turn on a lamp for fear he would see my shadow and know exactly where to strike. I know you're in there, Elena. You can't hide forever, girl. Tell your fancy husband how we used to spend our winters in Cornwall. He'd love to hear about the truck stop, wouldn't he? I pressed my back against the cold hallway wall, sliding down until my knees hit the floor, my hands over my ears, as if I could drown out the truth. I realized then that there was no such thing as a clean break. You can change your name, your city, and your life, but you carry the ghosts in your blood. I was waiting for the final blow, the moment when the man I loved would look at me and see only the girl from the shadows. It happened on a Sunday, a day that should have been sacred, a day of rest. The morning air in Hackney was crisp, and the bells of a distant church were tolling, a sound that usually brought me peace, but today felt like a funeral march. We were coming back from the morning service. I was walking a few steps ahead with the children, trying to keep them close as we reached the gate of our building. Thomas had stopped at the local butcher on the corner, just a few yards behind us. I could see him waving at a neighbor, his face full of the simple, honest joy of a man who loved his life. Then I heard it, that voice, louder and more distorted by gin than ever before, cutting through the Sunday quiet like a jagged saw. "Oh, what a treat. Look at the little lady coming home. Come here and give your old friend a kiss, Elena. Why are you pretending you don't know me? You weren't so shy back in Cornwall, were you?" My heart didn't just race. It felt like it had shattered inside my chest. I froze, my hand tight on the stroller, unable to move as Arthur stumbled toward us, his face flushed red and his eyes glazed with a dangerous, drunken madness. I tried to push the kids inside, to hide them from the filth coming out of his mouth, but my legs felt like lead. And then Thomas arrived. I saw him walking toward us, his brow furrowed in confusion at the sight of this disheveled man shouting at his wife. In that fraction of a second, I felt my world start to collapse, the bricks of our sanctuary turning into dust. "What's going on here? Who are you? Elena, do you know this man?" Arthur didn't even wait for me to lie. He turned to Thomas with a sickening yellow-toothed grin, his breath a cloud of alcohol and rot. "Protecting her, are you, mate? She didn't tell you about me, did she? She didn't tell you that before you, I was the one paying for her time? You're a right fool, aren't you? She's a girl from the moors, a girl from the shadows. She belongs to the streets, not to a flat in Hackney." The silence that followed was the loudest thing I have ever heard. I looked at Thomas, and for the first time in 7 years, I saw him looking at me as if I were a complete stranger. The man I loved was standing right there, but I had never felt further away from him. If the truth were a poison, Arthur was force-feeding it to us in the middle of Hackney Road. I stood there, feeling the cold Sunday air turn into ice in my lungs, while he began to unravel my life thread by thread. He didn't just stop at the revelation. Encouraged by the alcohol and the look of horror on my face, he began a biography of my shadows. He spoke of the long, dark nights at the truck stop, of the men who came and went, and of every detail I had tried to drown in the River Thames. "She's not just a liar, mate. She's a pro. Ask her about the nights near the A30. Ask her how much I used to pay to make her forget her own name. She's played you for a fool, building this little nest while she's got the dirt of 1,000 men under her fingernails." Every word was a stone thrown at the glass house of my marriage. I watched my children's faces, their innocent confusion shifting into fear as they heard this monster shouting things they couldn't understand but could certainly feel. Arthur provided a full report of my past, including every dirt he thought he had the right to expose, all of it right there in front of my husband and my kids. But then, the most shocking thing happened, and my husband didn't say a single word. He didn't scream, he didn't strike back, and he didn't even sketch a reaction while Arthur was vomiting his poison. Thomas just stood there, his back straight, his eyes fixed on me with a gaze I couldn't decipher, a look that seemed to ask if all of this was truly the woman he had slept beside for 7 years. I felt the ground beneath my feet begin to dissolve. The man I loved was witnessing the death of the Elena he knew, and I was powerless to stop it. Arthur's laughter echoed off the brick walls, a victory march for a ghost I thought I had buried. And in that terrible, quiet moment, I realized that the greatest proof of Thomas's love wouldn't be his anger, but his silence. To this day, my husband has not spoken a single word about that terrible Sunday morning. He didn't ask if Arthur was lying, he didn't ask for a confession, and he didn't make a single comment about the life I led before London. It was as if by refusing to speak the name of my past, he was trying to keep it from poisoning the air our children breathed. But the silence didn't mean he wasn't acting. I watched him in the days that followed, his movements precise and cold, as if he were performing surgery on our lives. In less than 2 weeks, without a word of explanation or a moment of hesitation, he negotiated the flat we had fought so hard to own. He threw away years of savings, our pride, and our only sense of security just to put an entire city between us and that ghost. He rented a new place for us in Highgate, on the other side of London, where the air is thinner and the past feels like it belongs to someone else. I watched him carry our boxes into that new, strange apartment, his face a mask of stoic endurance. Every time he lifted a crate, I felt the weight of his sacrifice pressing down on my own heart. I have no doubt that it takes a massive amount of love to do what he did. To look at the woman you love, to see the cracks and the shadows she tried so hard to hide, and to choose to carry her anyway. He didn't treat me with indifference. He didn't show resentment or contempt. He simply took the burden of my shame and made it his own, selling our dream just to buy me a second chance at peace. Today, I know that I have a man by my side who loves me beyond words, a man capable of stepping over his own pride in the name of love. I look at Thomas across the dinner table in our new home, and I see the silent strength in his hands, the same hands that rebuilt our world from the ashes of my past. The shadow of Arthur is gone, buried somewhere in the noise of Hackney Road, but the lesson he brought remains etched in my soul. I used to think that happiness was something that was stolen or borrowed, a fleeting light that I didn't deserve to hold. But Thomas showed me that love isn't just about the beautiful parts. It's about finding someone who knows your darkest secrets and decides they aren't dark enough to make him leave. I still wake up sometimes in the middle of the night, listening for the sound of a truck engine or a drunken shout. But then I feel Thomas breathing beside me, and the fear dissolves into a profound, humbling gratitude. He saved me, not just from Arthur, but from the shame I carried like a shroud for so many years. What greater proof of love can a woman ask for than a man who burns down his own dream just to keep her safe? Today, I don't look back at the moors or the truck stops anymore. I look forward because Thomas didn't just give me a new house, he gave me back my life. And that is where Elena's letter ends. A story of sacrifice, of a past that refused to stay buried, and the love that was stronger than pride. It's a bitter pill to swallow, isn't it? To realize that sometimes the only way to save the future is to set fire to the present. But now, I want to turn this over to you, my confidential listeners. Do you think Thomas was right to move and never speak of it? Or does a secret like that always leave a scar that eventually reopens? Leave a comment below and tell me, what would you have done in Thomas's shoes? If this story touched you, please give this video a like. It really helps the channel grow and allows me to keep sharing these intimate truths with you. And if you haven't already, subscribe and hit that notification bell. We have many more stories waiting in the shadows, many more secrets to uncover. Thank you for trusting me with your time today. Until next time, stay safe and keep your secrets close. Good night.